Dr. Gyani, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. We've been talking about quality, we've been talking about grading the hospitals, etc. And you are known and reputed to be the person who started this culture of quality as a thought process, as a mindset in our country. From the time you triggered this conversation in the country to where we are standing today, what has been the development that you have seen bringing in the conversation around quality?
You see, I consider there are around 65,000 hospitals, small and big in our country.
Yes.
And NABH has either accredited or certified or impaneled 20,000 of them. I think so this is a big number. If 1/3 of the hospitals have some kind of quality mark, I think this speaks volume. And that shows that people, hospital, doctor, nurses have by and large adopted the very concept of accreditation, which I consider as the foundation or basic of the quality. Quality will still, we'll keep on working after accreditation, but at least the beginning has been made. So that is a good outcome or positive outcome about the quality. But the other issue is equally more important, which recently we have submitted a report to the government. That because in today's discussion, if you have seen here, we are talking of the equity, we are talking of the accessibility, we are talking of the availability. So we submitted a report to the government first time in the country that there is a huge variation in terms of the healthcare infrastructure in our country. For example, two data I will share with you, that Bihar is found to have 0.3 beds per 1,000 population, which includes private and government. Whereas the Karnataka have 4.2. So that is a kind of variation, regional variation, and that is why if you see the people from Bihar have to run around for treatment to Delhi, Chennai, Bombay and Delhi, So we want now government to look at this very factor. Number one. Number two, we have also told government that in tier 3 towns, there is virtually no tertiary care available. So in case if somebody has to do angioplasty, simple thing like angioplasty or bypasses, CABG or any procedure of that kind, they will have to travel 200 kilometers. So the poor people sometimes will not even come to know about this ailment and they will remain there and there may survive or not. So our suggestion now is that they must give heavy subsidy, incentivize private sector to open up 100-bedded hospital in tier 3 towns, for which we have given to the government that they give cheaper electricity, cheaper land, cheaper loan. Once you do that, these 100-bedded hospitals will be able to treat the patient at the Ayushman rates, which government wants. Yeah. Now, but hospital, let us say in Delhi, cannot treat at Ayushman rates because operating expenses are too high. So I think these are the practical suggestions we have given to the government to improve availability as well as the accessibility. I think with that, hopefully in near future, next 5 years, we should be able to achieve universal health coverage.
Absolutely, sir. Very beautifully brought out in one of the sessions where one of the speakers spoke about the difference between equality and equity, right? And it was not about bringing the same quality of healthcare to everyone. It was about bringing everybody at the same level with differentiated level of healthcare. And you're also talking about the same thing, trying to bring the healthcare near to the people rather than having a domestic, what would you call it, medical tourism of a kind. But sir, when you're looking at beyond hospitals, in India, we know that we are going to be focusing on prevention, predictability, which means a diagnosis has to be brought in to catch or detect a problem at a very early stage. This detection also is not being brought to rural area or in tier 2, tier 3. What do you think needs to happen in that case?
You see, if I remember the manifesto of BJP in 2014 and 2019, I distinctly remember they were talking in the manifesto of integrating the Ministry of Health along with the food along with the sanitation, along with the water, so that they work in a unified manner. I think that has not happened, number one. They did allocate 30,000 crores for measures like nutrition, sanitation, and drinking water. Money is there, but it has not been utilized fully because it really needs efforts by the NGO, by the Gram Panchayat, and things like that. My own personal assessment after going through a lot of literature is that if government spends 1 rupee on these measures, what you just now mentioned, nutrition, sanitation, drinking water, you will clearly save 5 to 7 rupees on the curative part. I think if this thing is understood by the policymakers and the implementers, we can save huge money and also save public from getting sick, which by and large is happening because of the water, sanitation, and the nutrition. So I agree with you that we need effort on that. For that, number one, allocation has to be utilized. Number two, a coordination committee may be made to link these 4 ministries, which are working in silo at this point of time.
Sir, I have a very burning question that I have observed when I've been speaking to a lot of healthcare providers, both in diagnostics and in hospital space, is that the government approved rates of CGHS, etc., are not viable. I mean, I believe that there are 3 pillars on which healthcare works. One is accessibility, second is quality, but all this has to become affordable. Then only the healthcare will succeed in doing what it is supposed to do. Now, keeping this in mind, if you're looking at high quality and making it accessible, how can you make it affordable unless government becomes a part of the spender on this, rather than it being a kind of a situation penalizing the healthcare provider?
Yeah. So my first answer will be that government doesn't have financial allocation for healthcare by which it can really, reimburse treatment of the below poverty line population. For example, with the 2% of GDP, you cannot think of. Global average is 9.5% of GDP. Now, I'm saying, okay, if you have shortage of money, there is way out. Way out is very simple, that for below poverty line population, you extend the healthcare services through what you call 5 lakh rupees card and pay to the private providers at reasonable rate. Even if I'm not saying market rate, at least reasonable rate, so that at least they are meeting the operating expenses, not the profit. Okay. Remaining population, you should allow them to co-payment. So government contributes some money above poverty line, and the middle class people should be able to pay what we call co-payment. What is happening, somebody was just mentioning to me that in one of these states, perhaps I think Chhattisgarh he was talking, 90% people have been issued with a card. Now if all these people come to the hospital and claim treatment at that rate, obviously hospital will not survive, because remaining 10% will come with the cash that will not amount to the cross subsidy. But I think government has to understand, unnecessarily in the populism measure, they should not issue the card to the rich people who are influential and they get the card, BPL card. So they should restrict to really, which is around 40%. BPL cannot be more than 40% today.
Absolutely.
If you are talking more, that means we are not really developing. And remaining, they should be either encouraged to take private insurance, or if government want to bring them into the net, they should tell them, okay, we'll pay this much, but when you go to hospital will ask you little more money, which will be again in the transparent manner specified, you pay upfront cash. I think this is a simple solution.
Absolutely. I think, you are absolutely right. We have to ensure, I think we have a responsibility to ensure that our healthcare institutions remain sustainable. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to bear the cost of providing those services.
If you do not do that, there will be no new investment. Let us be very clear.
Absolutely. And Dr. Gyani, before I let you go, you are one of the pillars behind conceptualization of KAHO. How do you think today KAHO has become a platform for discussions around burning issues that can impact the growth of the healthcare industry as a universal provider of doing good?
And when I was retiring from QCI, so because our other board like NABCB, that has a committee, that accredited certifying body will come on our board to give the feedback that how we were assessing them. So I thought, why not in the hospital? We are accrediting hospital, they should have some say to give us feedback, how our assessors are doing. So that idea, I just mooted idea and retired from there. And then of course the CAHO started in a smaller way. I think thanks to all the people, successive presidents, secretary general, I think they have been able to bring people along with it, number one. And quality obviously has got attraction. People want to genuinely contribute. So today, of course, I think it has grown beyond even my own expectation. It is a singular body in the country which talks about the quality, promote quality, and has got huge international connectivity. Okay. Having said that, now actually what is left is that sooner or later government should realize that there is a body like CAHO which can give us the strategical input to the government on how do we really implement quality and promote patient safety. Unfortunately, in government there is no agency which talks on quality. Small country like Sri Lanka, I have seen, there is in the ministry there is a department on healthcare quality and policy issue. So I think my next aim will be to get CAHO connected with the government, because NABH, although is part of government, but they are focused too much on accreditation. They do not have time. So this kind of body, which is academic, can be the think tank for the government.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gyani. It is such a pleasure. I respect for the work that you do and the intent with which you do
Your
it. Thank you so much.
questions have been very pointed, and I admire that you have done the study.
Thank you so
have
much,
the background. Thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much, sir.